Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Happy Thursday. Today is the 5th of January. Glad to have you here on the program today. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. We'd love to hear from you. Good morning to Elizabeth Fanning Press, Dustin, Chris Morrill, and Michael Nip, who have all decided to join us live this morning, bright and early. Glad to have you here as well. Ann Henry. Someone catch the bot. It's running away. All right. Top of the show today, why we love being lied to. This morning, I'm going to discuss a piece from the New York Times that talks about testimony that was made by senior executives at Fox News, as well as many of the major media figures that work there, that said that they actually doubted Donald Trump's claims of a stolen election. We'll talk about that and why they're less to blame than the people who consume this kind of media. We'll talk about that at the top of the programming. It is called programming after all. At 7:20 this morning, we're going to react to a video from Sydney Watson, who was on a feminism panel that was held by Vice News, and it gives us a little bit of a glimpse of what it might look like if feminism were in charge. Well, ladies, I don't think even you would vote for this. At 7:30 this morning, a lovely lady, Maria Buenano, is going to be joining us again for her encore premiere performance on the program to give her thoughts on the Vice News feminism panel. And she's also going to give us a bit of an update on that situation with Damar Hamlin, who was struck in the chest and who appears to be recovering in a hospital. We're going to talk a little bit about that with Maria, talk about what some of the causes of that potentially could be. At 7:51 this morning, speaking of football, Joy Behar over at The View yesterday, we're talking about the Damar Hamlin story, says it was ripping on men for watching tackle football. She's ripping hetero men for supporting tackle football. And that was probably the only thing that could get me to support tackle football or hetero men. At 8 o'clock, just kidding. No homo. At 8 o'clock this morning, the campaign to re-educate Jordan Petersen. Jordan Petersen has been demanded by the Canadian government to submit himself to re-education in social media training. I kid you not. Yeah, Jordan Petersen has been demanded by the Canadian government to submit to re-education on social media training, ostensibly for comments that he made about Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. We'll talk about that this morning at 8 o'clock. At 8:23, toxic fitness influencers and the lies they tell. Speaking about lies that we love, we're going to talk about a woman who came out and says that she was a toxic fitness influencer, and she admits that she lied about her health and fitness routines in order to make more money. Duh, obviously. Isn't that really what it's all about? And if you missed my interview with Judge Andrew Napolitano yesterday, we're going to talk to you'll get a chance to see that this morning at 8:30. All right, let's hit the top of the program this morning. Again, don't forget, you can text us at 573-319-1586. Alternatively, you can also send super chats, which I monitor over here on my phone. I've got a nice little 3D printed phone stand over here. So we'd love to hear from you over there as well. If you want to send us a super chat so you can hear me talking through myself, send a super chat over there at AP4 Liberty over on YouTube. Glad to have you here. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to subscribe. Hit that subscribe notification and the bell notification icon so you know whenever we're live. If you're watching us today right now and you haven't clicked like on the video, make sure you do that. Like the stream that you're watching right now in order to help get it out there into more people's feeds. Okay, let's hit this news. I saw this yesterday in the New York Times, but it was actually from December 21st. I can't believe I missed this story, but I think it's definitely something that's worth discussing. Back in November of 2020, some of you might remember Sean Hannity had hosted a woman by the name of Sidney Powell. Remember the Release the Kraken narrative that was going to come out back in 2020 after the election? And Miss Powell was kind of, spinning these theories about what she said was, quote, corruption all across the country in countless districts in a plot to steal re-election from President Donald Trump. Now, at the center of this plot were these machines from Dominion voting systems, which Ms. Powell claimed ran an algorithm that switched votes to for Mr. Trump to votes for Joe Biden. Now, she insisted that these machines were used to trash large batches of votes. Now, at the time, Mr. Hannity interrupted her with a question that had been circulating around a lot of people who were questioning the outcome of that election. Um, and this is what he asked. Hannity asked, "Why were Democrats silencing whistleblowers who could prove this fraud? Why were Democrats silencing whistleblowers who could prove this fraud?" That's an important question, especially because of the way that he asked it. Because in asking it, it assumes that the election was stolen in that sense. Because why were Democrats silencing whistleblowers who could prove this fraud means that Hannity knew that there were whistleblowers who could prove the fraud. So he was saying, why were they being silenced? Meaning that he knew and could prove that there were people who could prove the election was stolen. You see, when you ask a question like that, you're, it kind of begs the question, if you will. And Mr. Hannity's disclosure is among the strongest evidence. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I skipped ahead a little bit here. So this, goodness gracious, a little bit early today. I need to finish my coffee. Now the question is, did Mr. Hannity believe that there were people who could prove that the election was stolen? That was what he was asked in a deposition from a lawsuit by Dominion Voting Systems, because obviously they would want to know if they could prove, if somebody could prove that they were running a fraudulent election and that there were whistleblowers. So they sued Fox and many of the senior executives there in order to get this information out so they could get discovery. Well, here's the thing. Hannity said in this deposition, and this is verbatim, this is a quote. He said, quote, "I did not believe it for 1 second," end quote. So that was the answer that Hannity gave under oath in a deposition in this $1.6 billion defamation suit that came against Fox News. This is according to a court hearing that came out a couple of weeks ago. And the hearing was, excuse me, pardon me, this morning. The hearing was called to address several issues that need to be resolved before this case heads for a jury trial, which is supposed to be scheduled for this April. So we are going to get more information coming out when the jury trial hits. Maria says, "Do you have a cold, AP?" Yes, I do, and I'm just on the tail end of it. Good morning, Brandon Meyer. Nice to see your little gold bars over there. That means that he is a second-month subscriber to the channel. If you do not have a little Statue of Liberty or gold icon next to your chat, now's a good time to subscribe to the YouTube channel and become a member so you can get all the little perks. And don't forget, if you are a channel member, you get perks like, one, you're entered into the monthly contest prize drawings from the AP for Liberty shop, and two, you get a 20% discount from the shop if you do buy something. So if you haven't gotten your discount code from me yet, make sure that you do that. Contact me, DM me through Twitter or wherever, and I'll send you your discount code. All right, let's continue on. So, so Hannity's statement here, where he says, "quote, I did not believe it for 1 second," is basically the strongest evidence that we've seen yet that people in the media on the right who were propagating the whole stolen election conspiracies did not believe them. Because this is a defamation case that is being made against Fox News by Dominion Voting Systems, because it's in their business interest to sue them if it's being said that they are running a stolen election, or if you were the ones who have these Dominion voting machines and you own this company, if somebody's saying that you are fraudulent, then you can sue them for defamation. Now, there's a pretty high standard for that. That doesn't mean that you'll win, but you absolutely have an interest in suing over that, because it's kind of like if you run any other business. Like I see, Mr. Vanderfeltz is joining this morning. Good morning, Caleb. If somebody says that, the Chemna Collision repair shop in Jefferson City is the worst place in the world or whatever, they do a terrible job, or they deliberately are trying to destroy your vehicle when you bring it into the shop or make it worse, you would, that's fraudulent, right? So they're accusing you of fraud, and you might have an interest in suing them. That doesn't mean that you'll necessarily win, because again, there's a very high standard for defamation, but you have at least you have a lawsuit interest in trying to get them to stop making claims that you're a fraud, right? So it's interesting to me that Hannity came out in that deposition, said that he didn't believe these claims, even though he propagated them, right? One lawyer for Dominion said that not a single Fox witness so far had produced anything supporting the various false claims about the company that were uttered repeatedly on the network. And in some cases, other high profile hosts and senior executives echoed Mr. Hannity's doubts about what Mr. Trump and his allies, like Ms. Powell, were saying. This included Meade Cooper, who oversees primetime programming for Fox News, and primetime star Tucker Carlson. Um, the lawyer for Dominion said many of the highest ranking Fox people have admitted under oath that they never believed the Dominion lies. They never believed the Dominion lies. So this goes on, and I highly recommend. I know you're not a big fan of reading the New York Times, and you're probably questioning the source itself, which you're absolutely in the right to do. However, the thing is about the whole stolen election myth is that, and this is going to lead me to my point here. The main point for this show is that we love being lied to in general, because the lies are typically quite comforting. They give us the sort of comfort that we desire, whereas the truth is generally very difficult for us to swallow. The truth will set you free, but first it will piss you off, in my opinion. Um, and the issue with these Dominion voting systems is this: the majority of people who are on the right, not all of us who are listening to the Wake Up America show, we typically tend to value the truth, even when that truth goes against what we would like to be true, because there's what we like to be true, and then there's what's actually true. But most people prefer to be told the lies because it's much more comforting, and it makes perfect sense. Donald Trump has cultivated this aura of invincibility, and he's even come out and said that he's not a good loser. And so when the 2020 election came out and we saw that Donald Trump lost, remember that meme that went around that showed all those ballots coming in at the last moment, and Biden overtaking Donald Trump, and it became like this kind of like jokey meme. Well, it's because the Democrats, of course, did mail-in ballots and did all of these absentee ballots, and they were doing ballot harvesting in states where it was legal, and Republicans had not caught up to that. Republicans had not, what they were doing. The only state that we were able to determine where there was some wrongdoing, and that I've been able to, in pushing Republican elected officials, people like Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft of Missouri, who's in charge of our elections, the only state that I've been able to determine where there may have been some wrongdoing or malfeasance was in Pennsylvania, which wouldn't have, but the number of votes that were, I believe in Pennsylvania, the situation was that they had a cutoff date for when votes would be allowed. And a judge ruled that they would be allowed to continue to collect votes that were votes that were legitimate votes, but they were past the cutoff time that the legislature had set. But a judge says, well, these are legal votes. We're going to continue to take these votes in because these votes were legally sent, even if they're past the deadline that the legislature has sent. That's been the only case, and I've been able to see that's been verified, that shows that, okay, well, what this judge did was against the law that was written by and passed by the legislature. But then, of course, that's a matter of opinion, because the question is, if you vote and your vote doesn't get in for the deadline, it's still a vote that you made. You want your voice to be heard, but you just didn't get it in by that deadline. We can agree or disagree on that one and have a discussion about it, but that's been the biggest case. And even then, the number of votes that came in after that deadline weren't enough to flip Pennsylvania. And there have been numerous lawsuits in numerous states, and the Trump legal team has lost over and over and over again. But what you see is people closing their eyes, right? The see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, from people on the right who have propagated this election myth, and it's costing us elections. It's costing Republicans elections, these lies that we're telling to ourselves and spreading out to the people. You see what's happening out in Arizona, where Republicans are so obsessed with this nonsense that they have put themselves in a situation where the voters do not trust them. And where you look at elections where Republicans are actually winning, they don't go off into these wild conspiracy theories. They don't chase a kraken that was never released. They don't, and they're certainly not chasing the whole, they're not fighting the battle of 2020. They're fighting the battle of 2022, and they're fighting the battles of 2024. It's time to move on, and it's time for us to be honest with ourselves about the situations that we're facing. Ballot harvesting is legal in some states, and Republicans are going to have to get on board with that. And they're either, if they can't change that law, then they're going to have to beat the Democrats at their own game by using ballot harvesting. I use this example because I think it's a very good one, of a California lawmaker who was a Republican who won in her district because she did ballot harvesting. She went to churches in her area and convinced all of the people in those churches to give her their ballots, and she took those ballots and she went and she dropped them off for the vote, and she won her election. See, if you can't beat them, join them. Now, you're going to have to go out there and adopt these kinds of tactics in order for us to be able to have Republicans winning elections. But the whole stolen election thing, the reason why those myths were propagated is because the public wanted it. The people who consume that media wanted to believe it. And I'll tell you, a lot of the media, people in the media who are in my position or other positions, they're afraid of you. But you have to understand that you as a media consumer have power. And it's in my interest to tell you what you want to hear, because if I don't, it's like when I said a few weeks ago during the Christmas break, that I said that Oswald was the lone shooter in Dealey Plaza, Texas. A lot of people in my audience, they did not want to hear that. I have my I'm looking at my analytics on Instagram. I lost like 180 followers in a single day because I didn't tell people that's dangerous to me. That hurts my bottom line. Whenever I lose a subscriber or lose a follower, I'm losing money, right? And media figures know this. They're terrified of their followers. So, and they can tell what their followers want to hear. And if they go against what their followers want to hear, then they know that they lose fans. That's why when you see media figures and it seems like they've gone insane, it's not the media figure most likely that's gone insane. In order to be an elite at that level, to get to that point, those people are very savvy and they typically tend to be very intelligent. It's not the media figure that's gone insane. It's the people who watch it who are demanding making those demands upon them. The problem is that nobody wants to blame themselves. Everybody wants to blame some giant top-down conspiracy. The real conspiracy is among the regular people, which is a shame. It's not one of those things that people want to hear. You definitely don't like to tell people that. All right, when we get back, I'm going to react to that interview that Sydney Watson did on Vice, that panel on feminism. Boy, it is a cringe fest, very cringy. And then Maria Buenano will join us at 7:30 this morning to share her thoughts on that, as well as Damar Hamlin, who appears to be recovering. Some good news for you. Talk about all that when we get back on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupamericashow.com.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today.
Fire.
Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move. So I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.
Good morning. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show, wakeupAmericaShow.com. Thanks so much for tuning into the program today. We're going to have Maria Buenano joining us here at 7:30 in just a few minutes. I'm going to talk to her a little bit about this Vice magazine panel that was done on feminism, but we're going to go ahead and react to that right now. This was Sydney Watson of The Blaze, many of you know her, who went and sat on a panel to discuss modern feminism. Let's go ahead and react to it. This is Sydney's reaction video to her own Vice panel. So we're going to react to Sydney Watson's reaction video. All right, you ready? Let's take a listen.
So yeah, of course, it's frustrating because when we try to talk about it, we get shouted down, we get told to be quiet, we get spoken down too as well. So there's hostility there for plenty of women.
Let's try to make this an opportunity to speak.
You're literally a white woman from Australia. You live in a bubble and you're pissed that voices that have been silenced forever finally can be heard.
Who laughs like this? What?
Good God, no kidding. Pause there for just a moment. You can text the show today at 573-319-1586. Did you have a chance to watch this panel? Looks like A.N. Henry did. She's seen it. This panel is awful. Who laughs like this? I don't know, but it's so terrible. We need to watch it one more time.
So yeah, of course, it's frustrating because when we try to talk about it, we get shouted down, we get told to be quiet, we get spoken down too as well. So there's hostility there for plenty of women.
Let's try to make this an opportunity to speak.
You're literally a white woman from Australia. You live in a bubble and you're pissed that voices that have been silenced forever finally can be heard.
Who laughs?
Jesus H. These are the people who that are going to inherit the earth if we do not get active in our areas and take our country back. All right, sorry. Continue on. Let's hear what Sydney has to say.
This. What are you, a Batman villain?
Oh my God, what are you?
Hi, my name is Sydney. Welcome back to hell. And hell it is indeed. Now, for those of you who don't know, a couple months back, I flew to New York to participate on a Vice panel about feminism, and that video recently dropped. And if you haven't watched it yet, I will link it in the description, so as per usual,
estrogen poisoning, says Quest Fanning. This is estrogen poisoning.
Suffering.
Ah.
Time. Fun fact, this is also the reason I was in New York, which led to me being on the flight where I became the meat in the human sandwich. And if you don't know what that situation is all about, I will link some things in the description box as well, because it kind of sounds like you too enjoy suffering.
Okay, but you probably, if you don't know what you're talking about, so she sat on a flight between two obese people, and in that flight, she kind of complained about it, and then everybody started attacking her online because she's, saying that she shouldn't have to be crushed between two ginormous people on an airplane, which I kind of agree.
If you've been here a while,
as an obese person,
you will know that I have done many panels and discussions and debates with all sorts of people, including feminists, about feminism. And most of these, most being the operative word, have been overall positive experiences. They're not ones that I look back on and nice. So I want you to think about how bad that was on the day. Ugh. So before I even got to New York, I sat down and watched the same panel on feminism that Vice did a couple years ago. And my takeaway from that was everybody on that panel was respectful, they were very polite, and the conversation, even if I didn't agree with some of the things that I can post a squish face. The disrespect.
It is like such conservative thinking to say, like, I don't understand.
It is like such conservative thinking. Let's laugh.
Explain it to me, versus just saying I don't understand and let me respect what you are saying.
Drugs are bad.
So people have talked about equity instead, which is instead of sameness, it's fairness. And this would mean that we remove systemic barriers to engage in society.
It's like assuming that we all want to be capitalist babies.
I'm saying that if you don't have the mindset you can even achieve it, you're never going to even try. So it's never...
achieve what? Like, what are we talking about? Because I feel like you've projected this capitalist ideology on every woman.
It's like there are the barriers, right, that we constantly ignore that are very much systemic and microaggressive, right? We see them and experience them every day.
What? So I'm thinking male versus female.
But my feminism includes ability, it includes race.
I think women want to sleep around and not have any consequence for it.
Hell yeah, we do.
Yeah!
Yeah.
Dude. Oh my God. I feel bad for the conservatives on this panel. I mean, can you imagine? It's like having to debate middle schoolers. Like, feminists never got out of middle school. They never advanced intellectually. All right. You know what? Maria Buenano just texted me. We need to go get her reaction to this. What do you think about that? Let's go get Maria Buenano. We'll have her react to this. We'll be back with more on the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here, and we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hi, I'm Stephanie, Austin's wife. I want to thank you all for watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen. This show has been a huge venture for our family, so we would love it if you could join us.
I believe in liberty, and I believe in Austin's ability to spread the ideas of liberty. Do you?
I want to ask ask you today to join Petersen's Patriots with a pledge of $17.76 a month. Help us to stay cancel-proof so we can spread the message of limited government across the country. I joined Petersen's Patriots myself, just in a little different way. Visit wakeupamericashow.com/support and make your pledge today.
Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1, you can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself or me mom, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great! Number 2, most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3, you're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me Pops build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell, this commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning, it's 7:37. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com. All right, my next guest making her encore appearance on the program today is Maria Buenano. Good morning, Maria. Thanks so much for joining us on the program today.
Good morning, Austin. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much for bringing up that topic, the Sydney Watson appearing on the Vice Feminism panel, because I had been meaning to react to it, and I just kind of forgot that it existed. So I appreciate that you brought it up. And honestly, I think it's time for me to get a lady's opinion on this one on the program. So, Maria, what were your thoughts on that panel?
I mean, shout out to Vice for getting some based anti-feminists on their panel to have these discussions, because they're really important. But I wish that we got the full unedited clip, because I watched Sydney Watson talk about it after the discussion, and she said that a lot of what she had to say was cut off and kind of misconstrued. So that's unfortunate, but I thought what was really, really troubling about it is the feminist responses to the anti-feminists. immediately all of their ideas were shot down. They were told that, oh, because they were pretty, white, thin, their opinions were not valid. And I just think that really sums up all of the feminist strategy when it comes to talking about these topics.
So if you're Sydney Watson and you're in a panel like that, I mean, what does victory even look like? I mean, it's kind of, it's kind of like, I was kind of joking. I was like, a lot of these feminists, their style and their intellectualism, it's like arguing a little bit with a middle schooler. Or I mean, I know that this is going to get me canceled, but I mean, it's like competing in the Special Olympics. Even if you win, you're still retarded.
Yeah. No, I hear that. As somebody who argues with feminists all the time, I totally understand where she's coming from. And there was one point in the discussion where she mentioned that one of the studies, I think it was Eli mentioned, was only based on a sample size of 7 people. And that was her point. She's like, I don't know if I can validate that study if there's only 7 people that were taken in the sample size. And immediately she was like, followed with attacks, told that because she's pretty and white, her opinions don't matter, and that she's being shot down. And it's just not logical. I mean, all of Sydney's arguments were completely reasonable. And the fact that they couldn't argue anything other than intersectionality just goes to show that there's no substance to the feminist argument.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen, I'm speaking to commentator Maria Buenano about a panel that Sydney Watson of The Blaze appeared on Vice magazine, where she was kind of like, I won't say shouted down, but she was kind of like laughed down, and when she was offering her opinions, which I found ironic because she was literally talking about how they, whenever a conservative female offers her point of view, they get shouted down, and then this woman like tries to like shut her up by laughing as loud as possible.
Cackling.
I mean, it's got to be tough because if you're on the right, Maria, and you're a lady, you want to go out there and you want to offer your views and opinions, and a lot of times those views are going to be accepted. But I mean, in some sense, it's kind of like, how do you sort of square a circle with this desire to be a trad wife when you understand that, like, if we were really kind of like going into like trad wife views, I mean, most trad wives wouldn't be on social media or wouldn't be going on Vice panels and offering their opinions. They'd be kind of staying at home. I mean, not to be the misogynist that the leftists are complaining about here, but I mean, like, there kind of has to be a new feminism, doesn't there?
There has. Feminism has gone through many transformations. The feminism that we see today is definitely not the feminism that our grandparents knew, and that's for sure.
For sure. Maria, I'm going to switch topics here because I know that you're an athlete, and you had brought up the story of the football player Damar Hamlin, who was hit on the field the other day and was, I think, in fear of dying. I'm seeing this morning that he actually looks to be potentially recovering. I'd love it if you could give us a little bit of an update on this case.
So CBS News said on Tuesday that he was about 50% reliant on the ventilators, and doctors right now are still trying to get him breathing independently. But what I thought was most troubling was the concussions were somewhat overlooked in the whole thing. It was mainly focused on his heart because his heart stopped when a lot of the incident was directly after repeated head injuries with the twisting of the neck and the blows to the back of the head when he fell the second time. So I'm curious to see how quickly he recovers, and I'm praying for his family.
There's been a lot of speculation about what may have led to this kind of an injury where his heart would stop on the field like that. A lot of people who are, speculating that it may have been because of the vaccine. Some people are speculating saying that this is the kind of thing that can happen when you get hit like this. I mean, what could this potentially be? I mean, has anything like this ever happened before?
Not in football, at least at an adult professional level. I have heard that at a child's level it happens, and even in construction, when a man takes a blow to the chest, it can stop his heart. But what concerns me is the amount of padding and the physical shape of Damar Hamlin and the strict regiments that the NFL has their players practice. Just, it kind of leads me to believe that it might not have been just the blunt trauma to the chest or from the impact of the fall even. I personally speculate, I'm no doctor, but I'm speculating that it's related to the head injuries or related to other health concerns, maybe side effects of previous, injections. We do know that 95% of the NFL has received the vaccine. So nobody knows if that's correlated or causing it. Nobody knows, but I would be willing to bet that the concussions had something to do with it, just based on the fall and how he twisted his neck. I mean, helmets and the padding in them are designed only for back and forth impact. They're only designed to cushion the blow and minimize intracranial bleeding. They do not actually eradicate concussions. So we saw after the first blow and the twisting of the head, he stood up, fell, got another concussion in the most vulnerable part of his head, which is the back and the temples.
Wow, that's insane. Well, we definitely are wishing him the best, his family and his friends. If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen, I'm speaking to Maria Buenano. Maria, one last topic that you sent over to me that I'm going to go into a little bit more detail here in just a few minutes is Jordan Petersen, a renowned psychologist who has kind of joined the Daily Wire in previous years and made a big name for himself. He's a Canadian psychologist who is a doctor who's been speaking out against the tyrannical leftism, has been ordered by the Canadian government to undergo a series of re-education trainings. What is this story, and what is it all about?
So Jordan Petersen is pretty popular and well known now as somebody who criticizes the Canadian government, criticizes a lot of woke identitarian politics, and has got himself temporarily banned off Twitter in the past for some of his comments regarding, trans women and education. So apparently a lot of trolls didn't like that, and anyone can leave a public complaint in Canada against psychologists. So apparently massive amounts of Twitter trolls spammed his complaint box, and he is now deemed unfit to practice clinical medicine, which is scary. Because if all it takes is a few trolls, not even your own clients or people that even know your clients, complaining about things you say online, it's kind of shocking. And the fact that they're making him jump through all these hoops, pay $25 an hour for an unspecified amount of time to get approved to practice medicine again is just scary.
Scary stuff. And we're going to go into more detail about that this morning at 8 a.m. here in about 15 more minutes. One last question for you, Maria, before I let you go, because you sent me a bunch of great topics here with your views, but you didn't send me your view on this topic that you sent. You said, hustle boss babe culture is destroying femininity. What are you laughing about? What does that mean what does that mean to you? What is boss babe culture, and why is it destroying femininity in your mind?
Boss babe culture is this mindset that, women should be able to do everything men can do and do it better at the same time while being able to raise a family. And it's this idea that, I guess, stay-at-home wives are less valuable to society and should be shunned to a degree from feminist circles. They're not welcome. They're not allowed to talk in conversations. And I think a lot of feminism has a lot to do with this, and the idea that motherhood isn't valued as much anymore. It's about how productive you are and how you can do everything men can do. It's about competition and not about actually being feminine and enjoying your soft feminine life. It's just like soft femininity is considered lazy, when throughout most of history it was cherished.
Good stuff. That's some great analysis from Maria Buenano, making her second appearance on the show. Second of what we expect will be very many. Maria, great interview. Thank you very much for your time this morning. We look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Thanks, Austin.
Thank you very much. What did you think of Maria Buenano? Send us a text, 573-319-1586. I think she did a great job. We'd love to have her back again really soon. All right, when we get back, 5 embarrassing moments in the war on drugs. Then 8 o'clock, don't forget, we're going to go into a little bit more detail on that Jordan Petersen piece on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Were you exposed to hazardous materials while serving in the military and have an illness or condition as a result?
If so, you may be eligible for VA benefits and services.
Whether you need health care or want to file a disability compensation claim related to military exposures, VA is here to help.
Visit va.gov/military-exposures to learn more and apply today.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
If I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors, what would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? You can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be.
There is no typical firefighter.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist. Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Petersen. Welcome to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Glad you're all here with me today. I'm glad you enjoy that commercial that I made. My lovely wife Stephanie filmed that for us last weekend. We were getting ready. said to ourselves, hey, we got to get rid of these Christmas commercials. They're a little out of date, AP. All right, well, let's make a nice, funny commercial for them so that they will enjoy it. iMovie commercial, LMAO. I didn't even use that advanced of technology to make that commercial. Just use my cell phone. Glad to have you here today. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. That's 573-319-1586. Now, you know that me as a libertarian Republican, that I am not a big fan of the way that this country conducts drug policy. So when I saw this article yesterday about 5 completely embarrassing moments in the war on drugs, I said to myself, it's definitely worth sharing with our listeners. For decades now, of course, the American government has been fighting this no-win war on drugs. It's gone about as well as the war in Vietnam or the war in Iraq or Afghanistan. Why is it whenever we declare war on something, it seems like we get more of it? Declared war on poverty? Well, we got more poverty. Right? Declare war on drugs? We get more drugs. The government needs to declare war on freedom so we can get more freedom. Now, the war on drugs, of course, came about in a speech that was declared by Richard Nixon. That was in 1971, shortly before he resigned in the Watergate scandal. And of course, it's been nothing but a series of embarrassments ever since it started there, with one that I was indoctrinated with when I was a kid. You probably were too. I'm 41 years old. My birthday's coming up. I'll be 42, if you can believe it. Look how beautiful I am and how nice and pretty my skin is. It's all because I drink water, and it's out of this specific cup, which you cannot get, unfortunately, at the AP for Liberty shop, but maybe you should. Of course, maybe one of the most famous anti-drug campaigns was the DARE program, which stands for Drug Abuse Resistance Education, and it came up with they came up with this idea to get teenagers to stop doing drugs by having authority figures tell them not to, which is obviously a slam dunk plan. The success rate of cops telling kids not to do drugs is about as high as the success rate of chaperones telling kids not to have sex at prom. All the research it's been backed up since DARE came out, shows that it did absolutely nothing to affect the use of the drug use rates among teens. Some studies actually found that it might have increased drug use rate among teens, which makes perfect sense because when you put kids in that situation. I didn't even know what a lot of these drugs were until I got educated by a police officer when I was a kid. I don't know. I'm from the just say no generation, says Chris Morrill. Yep, I remember that, but I was like a baby at that time. The government has finally started to legalize marijuana, despite all of the demonization of it. Even when we were kids, just say no. The devil's lettuce was for years, decades, one of the chief boogeymen in the war on drugs. It was considered to be a gateway drug and, the leading cause of reefer madness. There was a time when a single skinny joint could be held up by pale-faced, breathless parents looking like they just walked into John Wayne Gacy's crawl space. Nowadays, even the narkiest of narcs will begrudgingly admit that weed isn't doing much evil outside of holding up the line at 7-Eleven. Not only that, but the legalization of weed has created a booming business and a positively shocking amount of tax revenue for states in which it's implemented. Just last year, Colorado brought in almost $500 million in tax revenue from the good old jazz cabbage. I'll let you decide what you think is better for the public. Hundreds of millions of dollars in extra government money or spending the same amount to keep a guy who had an ounce of sticky in his glove compartment in prison away from his family. I don't know. The money coming into the government, not what I like to see that money be used for, but there's not a lot I can do for. This one, I remember when this came out, it made me laugh. This was hilarious. It was called this Quadro Tracker. And let me see if I can pull it up on the screen for you here. Let me go over my Twitter weirdness, and I'll put it up on the screen here for you so you can see what I'm talking about here. This was something that was legit advanced as a way to find drugs. Here, hold on, let me go. Yeah, Quadro Tracker. Check this baby out. Okay, transferring you over there to the Twitter weirdness. Take a look at this. Yeah, that's like the water dowser there. So this was a device that was marketed to police departments nationwide. It was a small plastic device that claimed to be able to detect things like guns and drugs after you inserted the corresponding frequency card, which of course costs money. The location was then meant to be indicated by a metal antenna. Now calling it a device at all might have been generous, given that it turned out to just be a hollow piece of plastic. Basically, police across the country dished out taxpayer dollars in a big way to buy drug dowsing rods, right? So, I mean, imagine yourself in a situation and somebody comes to you to sell something like this, and they're like, oh, it not only does this device find drugs, but it's also going to find guns. And think how stupid you would have to be to fall for something like that. And then realize that taxpayer dollars were spent on this. And they didn't just fool one department. They fooled many departments across the country with these little things that look like a radio that had an antenna on the side, and you had to buy a frequency card to install in it. I mean, I just have to say, whoever came up with that idea is genius, right? Because they understood the American people and how much we love snake oil and how much we love being lied to. Did you see that video of that police officer who supposedly was like having a spasm because of a fentanyl overdose, right? This is kind of a new trend, right? Well, I guess it's a trend that's been going on for a while, to make news, right? Where this, they will show this footage and claim that it's a fentanyl overdose they'll just believe the police when they say it, even though they don't have any evidence for it, right? So that video that showed that officer who, quote, overdosed on fentanyl through skin contact, or maybe it was just general vibes, fentanyl vibes. Now, fentanyl is obviously a very dangerous opioid, and it is easy to go overdose on an accident when it's included in cocaine or other drugs. But overdoses do generally require you actually ingesting the actual drug. And the stories are continuing to pile up of officers who are left lying panic on the ground or look like they can see directly in the face of death after contact, such as brushing it off their uniform or being in a car where the drug was found. But doctors and chemists are repeatedly explaining that is not how it works. Even more embarrassingly, some scientists and doctors have suggested that what these cops think are fentanyl overdoses are actually just panic attacks, right? Now, there's plenty of failures to speculate on, and we could easily, poke holes in public policy and the war on drugs for years. But one of the most, probably what might be more useful, is to take a look at someone who is actually responsible for the war on drugs. And this is a really straightforward take. The whole thing was bullshit. Nixon's domestic policy chief, a guy by the name of John Ehrlichman, gave an interview in Harper's Magazine in 1994, and he kind of gave up the ghost on what the true motives of the war on drugs were. And it's pretty stark. He said to the interview, quote, "We knew we could make it illegal to be either against the war or black people, but by getting the public to associate the hippies with marijuana and blacks with heroin, and then criminalizing both heavily, we could disrupt those communities, we could arrest their leaders, raid their homes, break up their meetings, and vilify them night after night on the evening news. Did we know we were lying about the drugs? Of course we did. Yes. Surprise, surprise, but we love being lied to, don't we? Because it confirms our biases about hippies and black people. We do have those biases, don't we? 49 people watching over on YouTube. Boy, that is insane. Man, after I said that, though, probably a lot of people are going to go away. They're going to be like, no, I can't believe you said something that went against my right-wing programming. It's a libertarian show. You libertarians, you refuse to see reality. No, you need to see reality. Why don't you hold up a beautiful gold coin and look at it in your reflection and realize that liberty is the answer. That it's okay to be right-wing and to say, legalize drugs. That it's okay to say, I'm right-wing and end the wars. That it's okay to say, I'm right-wing, but I don't agree with the government when Republicans do it, right? That we can fight the left and their bureaucratic authoritarianism, and we can fight the right and their central strongman authoritarianism, and stay in the middle. But if they decide to destroy the economy, people like you and me are going to be just fine. Why? Because we got gold, baby. Pure gold. Or silver. We say to ourselves, hey, listen, I want to invest in something that I know is going to increase in value over time, because I know that the Federal Reserve is going to continue to destroy the value of the dollar. And if you believe that the Federal Reserve will continue to destroy the value of the dollar, then you need to get yourself some gold and silver. Why don't you do that? Amazing how people still go for the snake oil of government, says Andy Maidman. Amen, brother. Amen. I believe you. So don't go in for the snake oil of government. Go in for the pure, delicious, clear spring water of freedom. Get yourself a free informational packet from my friends over at Lear Capital, the gold and silver suppliers that I recommend, the precious metals leader at learaustin.com. Head over to that website right now. Get a free informational packet. There's no obligation to buy anything. Just get yourself a free info packet. Head over to the website. Do me that favor today. Help support the show by visiting our sponsors at Lear Capital at learaustin.com. That's LEARAUSTIN.com. We'll be back with more on the Wake Up America show at wakeupamericashow.com.
Hello, my name is Kelvin. Welcome to Frenchy Bush. This is my Didi's website. Now I've decided to speak to you with my real voice for the first time ever to tell you about how cool Frenchy Bush is. But I've decided that this is the perfect opportunity to share with you. Frenchy Bush is a good website. You should follow us on socials. If you like Frenchies or any kind of bulldogs, me and my new brother George are going to try to make your life more fun.
Hello, I'm George. My neck isn't really thick yet, but it will be. We are so glad you're here. Please ignore my floating eyeball. It helps me spot predators who might be approaching from the sides.
Didi made Frenchy bullshit to review things that he uses on me and my brother to tell you if it's good or bullshit. Take this collar, for example. Didi really likes it. Didi said it's really handy because us Frenchies got thick necks. Need something really tough. People think Frenchies are little, but if you look at us from below, you can see we are really pretty buff. Beefcake, yes. Look at my creamy thighs and chest. Yes, you like that?
Big brother, please focus.
Frenchy Bush. Please follow us for more great content and read the Frenchy Bush blog for more fun and cool stuff.
I'm a public defender.
I am a public defender.
I'm proud to be a public defender.
80% of Americans accused of a crime will get appointed a public defender.
Everybody from a speeding ticket to capital murder.
For every dollar we spend on public defenders, we spend $3 on prosecutors.
Public defenders have to do pretty much everything on their own.
Social workers, counselors.
Investigating is another piece of it.
The average public defender holds 300 cases annually.
You never feel like there's enough time.
Public defenders have health issues all the time.
A lot of people give up and say, I can't do this work anymore.
Gideon's Promise trains, mentors, and supports public defenders.
There are a lot of people who say that they would not still be public defenders, but for Gideon's Promise.
It's fueled me to continue on in this fight.
Gideon's Promise has changed the face of public defense.
People see us as troublemakers.
Good trouble only.
We don't make it easy. It should not be easy to take away someone's liberty.
Ever hear the one about the frog? Put a frog in a pot of boiling water and it'll jump right out.
Here's my resume again.
But put a frog in a pot of cool water and slowly heat it up, and that frog will boil. It's a lie. But as a metaphor for us and all that we go through as veterans,
any real-world experience.
It's a story that rings true. We make excuses for how we feel. We push everything down. We tell ourselves the lie that it's easier to stay in that boiling water, to disconnect. And some days, maybe it is. But you've never been interested in easy. Make no mistake, reaching out is hard. Do it anyway. You're not alone. You've got this. You are not a frog.
Find resources at va.gov/reach.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Do you ever wonder if after you got yourself into a career and you've run for president of the United States and given speeches all over the country and done all these podcasts with your political views, do you ever wonder, will I ever be able to have a normal job ever again? Oh, well, you're not in that situation? Oh, that's just me. Okay, well, I can tell you that is something that I think about from time to time, especially because in the age-old days of the 1990s and early aughts, before I got into all this political stuff, I remember thinking to myself once I first started getting into a political career that it might be difficult for me to get certain types of jobs because when I did interviews, there would be gaps on my resume. And in those gaps on my resume, those were the years before I was doing politics. I was doing, theater and the arts. I remember I was in a production of Barry Manilow's Copacabana one summer. And naturally, I didn't list those things on my resume when I went to apply for a think tank job or, whatever it was that I was trying to do in Washington, D.C. And so people would ask me questions. They would say, well, what is it with this gap in your resume between college and now? And, I had to explain them. Well, those gaps in my career are Barry Manilow's Copacabana. Her name was Lola. She was a showgirl with yellow feathers in her hair and a dress cut down to there. She would merengue and do the cha-cha. Surprisingly, those kinds of skills don't do very well in interviews. Probably don't do very well on morning talk shows either, do they? Oh, what? They like me. They really like me. But I bring this up because I was writing this article yesterday about Gen Z rewriting the rule book on resume gaps. Now, career breaks are supposed to hurt your career. So how is Gen Z getting away with it, right? And a lot of people are familiar with this, the scourge of the resume gap. Do you have any gaps in your resume? We'd love to hear from you on that one. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. Quest Fanning did a lot of volunteer work when he was freelancing, and that is on his resume. Okay, well, fine. Well, your stuff can appear on your resume. My resume is a little bit bonkers. If I ever did try and go and apply for a normal job, I'm pretty sure I would get rejected for it just because they'd be like, well, for years, for example, the last time that I held down a job was when did the KWOS morning show end? It was like last August, right? So the beginning of September. So I haven't held down a job since September, October, November, December, January, right? Almost half a year that I haven't had a job. And imagine showing up to a place of work and being like, oh yeah, I was a podcaster for 6 months. But at least I can say that I gave speeches at colleges and all those things. Big gaps after having babies. That's a good one there. Ann Henry said. But based on the interviews that they did over at Insider Magazine, Gen Z apparently doesn't think that opportunities for personal development should be limited to the more traditional gap year before or after college. And they don't think that companies should be penalizing workers who have chosen to or been forced to take time away from their career. Well, they can think that you can poop in one hand and wish in another and see which one fills up first, of course. But job candidates have kind of papered over resume gaps for years, right? Taking a break during the long march of a career is not uncommon. But a LinkedIn survey found that 62% of workers had taken a gap at some point in their careers. Research from 2010 found this number had increased 14-fold since the 1970s. The survey found that childcare was the most common reason for a career gap, as A.N. Henry said. Way to point it out, A.N. Henry. And 11% of men said that was the reason for their time away, so they were doing childcare. 1 in 5 of all respondents cited mental or physical health for their reason, and just under a third took a break because of a layoff or to care for a friend or a relative. But many companies still penalize people for that. Research from Resume Go, which is a resume consulting service, found that applicants with gaps in their CVs were on average 45% less likely to get an interview than those without. More than half of the people that were surveyed said they would feel more confident applying for jobs if they did not have to share that they had a gap with their employers. And those biases can actually have a significant influence on a person's long-term life prospects. Listen to this. A 2020 study that was conducted by researchers at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, found that workers with the most employment gaps experienced up to 40% lower wages later in life compared with workers without gaps. Yeah, obviously. The study also found that women, Black men, those with less education, and those living in poverty by age 22 were the most likely to have resume gaps and therefore lower wages throughout their lives. The bias is very acute for young people because young people, I say we, but they are expected to be putting their noses to the grindstone to make a name for themselves. If somebody takes time off in their 20s, a lot of employers will still view that time as when they really should be building their career upwards. He said employers might see that person as someone who doesn't take their career very seriously. What do you think about that? John Rail says a bunch of women went to OnlyFans to make money during COVID and never went back to work because they make a ton of money. So there is that. Yeah, but very, very few women actually make a ton of money on that platform. Quest Fanning says so much of the HR crap is automated and word searches. That is true. If I ever have a gap, I'm putting down editor at large of the Libertarian Republic, and you'd better damn well vouch for me, says Chris Moral. All right, you got it, buddy. All right, but who's going to vouch for me? My problem is the internet searches. When people, if I ever went and try, let's say that the Wake Up America show failed and, John Rail decides not to continue to support the channel and Brandon Meyer doesn't, re-up for another month of the Freedom Ninja thing and Joni Rankin doesn't do another month of subscription to the channel and Lear Capital pulls their funding for the show and all of that. Let's say that all that happens and the show fails and I got to go apply for a normal job. Do you really want to let that happen? I don't think you do. Don't you want to continue to have a good Wake Up America show? Make sure you click like, subscribe, hit that bell notification icon. Help share the show and get it out there more so that we can continue to thrive and survive. And I don't have to explain to anybody what this really weird gap in my resume was. Hung out with a bunch of weirdos on YouTube for about 6 months. Let's make it let's make it a career on the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
American conservatism is distinct, like America is distinct from the United Kingdom. American conservatism's roots comes out of the Wild West, out of pioneerism. The difference between American conservatives and European conservatives is that Americans are cowboys. We are that God, guns, gold, and girls. It's wild here. And we should stay that way. We shouldn't allow a European version of conservatism to come and infect us here. We like it wide open spaces here, deep in the heart of Texas and all that.
Hi, I'm Stephanie, Austin's wife. I want to thank you all for watching the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen. This show has been a huge venture for our family, so we would love it if you could join us.
I believe in liberty, and I believe in Austin's ability to spread the ideas of liberty. Do you?
I want to ask you today to join Petersen's Patriots with a pledge of $17.76 a month. Help us to stay cancel-proof so we can spread the message of limited government across the country. I joined Petersen's Patriots myself, just in a little different way. Visit wakeupAmericaShow.com/support and make your pledge today.
Thank you for watching the Wake Up America show with my dad. Today, I'd like to share with you 3 reasons why you should visit Dad's online store at apforlibertyshop.com. Number 1, you can get exclusive freedom-loving merch designed by AP himself or me mom, Steffi. Liberty Laura has made some designs as well, and blimey, they are great! Number 2, most of these products are so wicked that they aren't even allowed to be advertised on Facebook or Instagram. Modern machine guns and a proper keychain. Plus, our Grover Cleveland t-shirt is so spicy apparently that leftists on Facebook specifically banned it from appearing on the website. Number 3, you're supporting liberty lovers just like you. Spend your money where you earn it, and you help me pups build a community that supports what you believe. Bloody hell, this commercial is running too long. Gotta run. Bye now. Don't forget to visit apforlibertyshop.com. That's apforlibertyshop.com.
Good morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. All right, well, the best friend of the show is joining us now. Good morning to Judge Andrew Napolitano, host of the Judging Freedom podcast. Hi, Judge. Happy New Year. Thanks for coming on the program today.
Well, happy New Year to you, Austin, and thank you for referring to me as the best friend of your show. It's indeed an honor to be called that, given the intellectual and professional relationship that you and I have experienced and enjoyed for the past, I don't know, how many years? 10, 12 years now?
Yeah, it's been longer because I think, we made friends back in, before I started working for you. I like to tell people the story about Roger Ailes and that memo that he wrote back in, I believe it was, the 1970s for Richard Nixon about, how to get Republicans on television. And I sort of made a copy of it, call it How to Get Libertarians on Television back in the day, and that was kind of part of the kicker that helped to take the podcast onto the show Freedom Watch, which was just a little bit of libertarian history that not a lot of people know.
So my assistant said to me, there's some young, nice-looking guy here who wants to visit you. He claims he's going to be working for you in a couple of years. And I thought, who the heck is this? Who has this kind of chutzpah? And there you were.
Well, Judge, I'm grateful that we've been able to continue our friendship and relationship over the last decade, and glad to have you as a weekly guest on the program, especially because we can get your insight and so many of the major news items of the day and philosophical questions that so many people have. If you want to send a question to the judge, you can at 573-319-1586. Yesterday, in a very embarrassing move, the Republican Party decided not to vote for Kevin McCarthy. No matter what you think about Kevin McCarthy, whether you love him or hate him, certainly showed that the Republican Party now is in chaos, Judge. What was your thoughts about the Republican Party yesterday? Good move, bad move, bad for the Republican Party, good for freedom? Give us your analysis, if you would.
Well, the impetus behind the 20 dissenters is limited government and maximum individual liberty and spending within your means. That was once, those three views and goals were at one point ideological bedrocks of the Republican Party, but they are no longer. Kevin McCarthy, it's a Republican Party, and I say this as somebody who knows him, has interviewed him, has spent private time with him, was on a first name, warm, comfortable basis in many occasions when I was at Fox and he was there as a guest on my show and others. Kevin McCarthy is really Democrat light. Kevin has never opposed, and rather he has supported every big government piece of legislation to come down the pike. People say, well, Congress can't govern. Great that the Congress can't govern. It's fabulous if there's some mechanical means to prevent them from enacting more legislation. The mechanical means is they can't do anything until they have a Speaker of the House. We have 5,500 federal criminal laws. We have 74,000 pages of IRS regulations. They just passed a 4,100 page, $1.65 trillion omnibus spending bill with all kinds of little things in it, some of which I keep finding and writing about. This is no way to run the government. A young congressman from Texas named Chip Roy, a former federal prosecutor, gave a nominating speech for Jim Jordan yesterday. Now, Jim Jordan, sometimes can be off the wall, but the speech that Chip Roy gave could have been written by Austin Petersen with respect to the limited role of the federal government in our constitutional republic. It's a shame that only 20 other Republicans or 19 other Republicans agree with it. So I'm happy that the establishment is being frustrated. I don't know how this ends. McCarthy's going to have to step down, but it seems right now. They all say they're never going to step down, and then something happens and they do.
Does this mean, Judge, that potentially a Democrat could take over as Speaker of the House?
Well, if some of these dissident Republicans vote for Hakeem Jeffries, he would be the Speaker of the House. Now, that would really be an anomaly to have the Speaker from the minority party. One of the problems is a clause in the Constitution that says each House shall write its own rules. And the House, under Republicans, wrote a rule that allows the Speaker to decide who's on what committee and what legislation comes to the floor and how much debate there is on that legislation. So you could have 400 members of the House wanting an amendment to legislation giving money to Ukraine, sending an inspector general over there to see how the money's being spent. If the Speaker of the House doesn't want that to be voted on, it doesn't come to the floor. That's not the people's house. That's an autocratic power which Republicans gave to John Boehner. Nancy Pelosi kept it, and whoever the Republican Speaker is, unless he's one of these renegades, will probably keep it as well. The House of Representatives is not a deliberative body. It's just vote in lockstep the way the leadership of your party tells you. And with the exception of these 20 dissidents, and I don't always agree with them on a lot of things, many of them are election deniers, but on this, I support them.
If you're just tuning into the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen, I'm speaking to Judge Andrew Napolitano. We're talking a little bit about the vote for the Speaker of the House yesterday. Judge, for those who heard what you just said when you say election deniers right there, that's a bit of a trigger word. Can you describe what you mean there? Like, what do you consider to be an election denier?
People who think that Donald Trump was truly elected in 2020 and Joe Biden is an illegitimate president. I think the former president, in order to solve his SALVE, solve his bruised ego, put that out there, and people have accepted it as a litmus test for some Republicans. In my opinion, it's absurd. There were 61 lawsuits filed. On this, 60 were dismissed. The one that wasn't had to do with how close you can stand to somebody watching them count ballots when you have COVID and they don't. I mean, it was one that had nothing to do with the merits. But every single one of those pieces of litigation, most of which filed by Rudy Giuliani and co., were dismissed, many by judges that Donald Trump had appointed. There's zero evidence that the outcome of the election was fraudulent. But in order to manifest an endearing love of former President Trump, many Republicans have embraced this view. I don't know if they honestly believe it. I do know that my former colleague, Sean Hannity, who's been preaching it on air, when pressed under oath in a deposition in a lawsuit against Fox, said right before Christmas, I didn't believe it for a minute.
But you can understand why they do this, Judge. The pressure on the right for Republicans to accept the stolen election narrative is immense. I mean, you can understand, though, that if you're running for office or something like that, I mean, the Trump forces within the Republican Party demand absolute and total fealty to him, and anything going outside the narrative to them is anathema. I mean, you basically become a heretic and are purged from the movement. I don't know. I think that
Well,
it's probably
that's why the Democrats did so well 2 months ago in an election that they were supposed to be the victims of a Republican tidal wave, because the Republican nominees who hewed to that line do not have universal appeal, because that line is absurd. And it's nearly impossible to defend it from a rational point of view. I can understand defending it from an emotional point of view. Who in their right mind would want Joe Biden instead of Donald Trump? That's in the Republican Party. I understand that argument. But to deny reality is absurd. Ayn Rand once said, you can deny reality and you can escape reality, but you cannot escape the consequences of escaping reality, which is that the world will come tumbling down on you if you don't confront reality. That's what's happening. That's what's happening to the Republicans as we speak, Austin.
If you're just tuning in to the Wake Up America show with Austin Petersen, I'm speaking to Judge Andrew Napolitano. You can text the show at 573-319-1586. Judge, I try not to spring too many things on you at last moment. Just a question here for you very briefly. Did you happen to see Senator Ben Sass's article that he wrote in the Wall Street Journal about the difference between what he called civic pluralists and political zealots? Did you happen to get a chance to see that piece?
I didn't see it, and I regret not seeing it, because I enjoy listening to him. He is, or was, I'm not sure if he's still in the Senate or not, or if he's becoming the president of the University of Florida, the only senator with a PhD and one of the more serious thinkers. I don't always agree with him, but his thoughts are worth reading and listening to. But I didn't see this piece.
Well, can I briefly just summarize it for you and get your thoughts on this? Because I really feel as if like this, he has sort of, I think, narrowed in on where people like you and I are right now, sort of caught in the middle of the zealots of both sides, trying to have our voices heard and to preach the same message that you and I have been preaching for, well, me a decade, you decades. But here's how Ben Sass describes the divide between in modern politics. He calls civic pluralists people who understand that ideas move the world more than power does. Pluralists value debate and persuasion. He says political zealots reject this, holding that society starts and ends with power. Government, in the zealots' view, isn't to protect from the powerful or the popular. More than anything else, zealots on both the right and left seek total victory in the public square. Ben Sass writes, they believe that the center of life is government power. They preach Jeremiads of victimhood and decline. On the left, they want a powerful bureaucracy. On the right, they want a strong man, but they agree on a central tenet. Americans are too weak to solve problems with persuasion. They need the state to do it. Now, Judge, after decades of being a radical constitutional libertarian, I thought of myself as a political zealot. But now we're in a scenario where the zealots are the people who think that a government bureaucracy should tell us all what to do. And then on the right, the political zealots who want a strong man to tell us all what to do. What kind of a weird situation do we find ourselves in with this modern political miasma?
Well, if you read, and I know you have read, Hans Hermann Hoppe's Democracy, the God That Failed, and I encourage your viewers and listeners to read it. It's an academic book, but it's quite readable. He argues that the nature of democracy, one man, one vote, always leads to the redistribution of wealth. So instead of protecting our lives and liberties and property, the government protects us from racism, homophobia, climate change. It wants to protect us from everything except what we hired it to protect us from. And as Jefferson and Hamilton, who hated each other but once agreed on this, once said, when the treasury becomes a public trough and the public recognizes that, they're only going to send to the seat of government those who will bring home the biggest piece of the pie. That's where we are now. I mean, 95% of America, the government gets their money before they do by income tax withholding. The government decides how much of that money they can keep and how much of the money the government will keep. Madison gave us a government that needed our permission to do anything. Today, we have a government that we need its permission to do nearly everything. I'll quote Ayn Rand again. She referred to that as an inversion of what Madison gave us. And that's where we are. We don't need a strong man. We don't need a bureaucracy. We need a government that will leave us the hell alone. Protect our lives, protect our property, protect our liberty, and leave us alone. How's that for an opening salvo of 2023?
Now, so there's a bit of a challenge here with the libertarian mind, Judge, in this modern context, such as it is. The sort of the preaching of decline, that the United States is a nation in decline. Now, this is because of my own personal view on things. Like, I just got married last year. I'm going to start a family this year. I have children, which means I think of a future of the United States. I think of a future for liberty. But that the sort of the view of left and right is such that America is in decline. Now, think about how this correlates with like the libertarian mind, which sees the rise of statism, the increase in the size of government, and the view that, things in many ways for liberty are getting worse. Now, I agree with that. I agree that, that liberty has shrunk and government has grown. But yet, Judge, when you look on things at a longer timeline, it is far better in the United States for liberty today than it was 270 years ago when the founders wrote the Constitution. A man like myself, I would have only been allowed to vote a couple of years ago when I actually became a landowner and purchased property, right? If you were anything but a white man without property, you wouldn't have been allowed to vote in the United States. The long march of history appears to be showing that things are actually improving for liberty, and yet what we hear from libertarians and from many on the right and left today in the modern parlance is that America is in decline, and yet things seem to be getting better. How do we sort of square this circle?
I guess it depends on where you are and who you are. For white male landowners who have always been able to vote and participate in the government, things have gotten worse. If it hadn't been for some shenanigans at Ellis Island, I'd probably be a ditch digger in Naples, Italy today, rather than a legal scholar and a national commentator who went to Princeton. If Woodrow Wilson were the president of Princeton when I applied, forget it. My application wouldn't have even been considered. So yes, there have been liberalizing and liberating marches for people of color, for women, for people whose last names don't sound like Wilson or Jefferson or Hamilton. However, that has come at a price. The price is 50% of your income goes to the government to be redistributed. You can't leave the government. You should be able to leave the government without leaving your property. I don't need the government. I don't need its protection. I can afford my own protection. I don't send people to schools. I get rid of my own garbage. I plow my own street. What do I need that criminal gang 2 miles away knocking on my door every 4 months wanting 1/4 of an astronomical real estate tax? I can't leave the government. I think I told you the story. The mayor's a pig farmer. He's been the mayor for 40 years. He's a decent, wonderful, conservative Republican with libertarian leanings. And I said, hey, mayor, how about you and the next town compete for my taxes? See who will provide more services at less cost. He looks at me, he goes, "That's the most communistic thing I've ever heard." Communist? It's purely capitalist. It's pure freedom. See what happens when you want to take away the government's money and power? They will call you the dirtiest word they can think of. I don't know if I answered your question or not, Austin.
Well, it's just no. I understand, Judge. It's a difficult question because it's just that I get very tired of the preaching of America in decline. It's not to say that there aren't things that have gotten worse in our views. The passage of the income tax and the consolidation of power in the hands of the federal government at the expense of the states here in the United States. But that if we're looking at things on a long enough timeline, I don't think anybody with any intellectual honesty would want to live 200 years ago or would want to live 300 years ago. That, and, a lot of that can be, ascribed to modern medicine and modern technology, and certainly not to the government and the free market and the rise of modern conveniences that we all enjoy nowadays. But that in many ways we are freer than we were 150 years ago, even with the income taxes that we have to pay. I just I think I feel like a bit of an outlier in that I do have hope and I do believe that there is a future for our ideas and that there is a future for freedom, because if you do look at things on that long enough timeline, that things have improved for the vast majority of people. But there's always room to improve, but I just cannot buy into the sort of doom mindset that so many other people have adopted. And some people wish to hasten. There are people who wish to hasten the decline of the United States. And I think that this experiment was too beautiful and too correct for us to abandon. Because if we walk away from a judge, if people like yourself and myself abandon the fight, the price of not being involved is being ruled by our inferiors, is it not?
Well, we finally found something we disagree on after all these years. I would do almost anything legal and moral to hasten the demise of the federal government so that we are smaller republics and you can vote with your feet. If you want more freedom and less government, go to New Hampshire. If you want more government and less freedom, go to New Jersey or California. But the more the federal government controls things, the less the distinction is between the states. I don't think this will happen in my lifetime, but maybe in the lifetime of your children. The federal government won't be able to pay its bills. Nobody will work for it. It'll collapse like an overripe apple, and the country will separate into a dozen or so smaller republics. Where you live, where Texas is, where Florida is, will be more liberty. The Northeast and the West Coast will be more government, but you'd have the ability to go where you want and live the way you want, which was originally Madison's dream. I mean, Madison, who wrote the Constitution, also wrote the Virginia resolutions, which, though it wasn't revealed that he wrote them until after he died, said that secession is legal and that states can leave by a simple vote of the legislature, and that counties can leave the states, and that towns can leave the counties, and that individuals can leave the town. That is a essential theory of democracy, the God that failed, which is the right to avoid, to leave the government. Try and do that today and see what happens. They'll chase you down for their tax dollars no matter where you go.
It's amazing to me that leftists, even if you say to them, if California were to try to secede, would you suggest that we roll tank into Sacramento? And the answer that I get nearly universally from them is yes. Judge, we're running up against the clock here. I know you've got your own awesome show. Have you got any great interviews coming out sometime soon on the Judging Freedom podcast?
Yes, I do. At 11 this morning Eastern, I have Congressman Andy Biggs, who started this revolution against Kevin McCarthy. And at 3 this afternoon Eastern, I have the inimitable, I wish he were the Secretary of Defense, Colonel Douglas Macgregor, about why the Russians will win and every nickel we send over to Ukraine causes needless death and destruction. Both times Eastern, both live today.
Great lineup, Judge. I can't wait to see that Andy Biggs interview for sure. Judge Andrew Napolitano, host of the Judging Freedom podcast, friend of the show, and a proud secessionist. Judge, thank you for your time today.
See you next Wednesday, my man. All the best.
Love you, bud. Thank you so much for your time. What did you think of Judge Andrew Napolitano?
Are you exposed to hazardous materials while serving in the military and have an illness or condition as a result?
If so, you may be eligible for VA benefits and services.
Whether you need health care or want to file a disability compensation claim related to military exposures, VA is here to help.
Visit va.gov/military-exposures to learn more and apply today.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
If I had to pick up the phone, call 911 for one of my family members or one of my neighbors, what would I do if no one was on the other end to respond? What if there was no 911? You can be a part of the solution.
Anybody can be a firefighter. Male, female, younger, older.
We have school teachers. We have leaders in business.
Is me, you, anyone that wants to be.
There is no typical firefighter.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals in you that will make you more sensitive to 5G? Do you love America? Do you want more freedom? Do you like smoking hot red-headed libertarians? Then the AP for Liberty shop is for you! Check out all the awesome new merch and have a happy new year! Fight the deep state, reject the Antichrist! Visit AP for Liberty shop and get your patriotic merchandise now, or the deep state wins!
morning, Rise and Freedom. I'm Austin Petersen. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. Well, the show is almost over. Hey, but I still got more good content left for you to go. Yeah, good. A toxic fitness influencer, admittedly toxic by her own words, is coming out with her mea culpa. And now that it's New Year's and we're all talking about our New Year's resolutions, and some of us have probably already thrown them by the wayside, I have been reading so far as part of my resolution, reading every day, making myself a little bit smarter. I've got myself a whole bunch of new books to read. I bought Michael Malice's new book called The White Pill, which I'm excited to read. I bought Michael Shermer's book called Conspiracy, which I'm excited to read. And I'm reading right now the rereading the book by Gerald Posner about the JFK assassination to get ready for my InfoWars debate, which is going to be just a few days from now. Kind of excited about that. What about you? Yeah, I'm going to be debating the JFK assassination on Sunday the 8th. So you don't want to miss that one. That's going to be at 7 p.m. this Sunday on InfoWars. It's going to be an awesome debate. I can't wait for it. All right, so let's hit that toxic influencer on our Twitter weirdness panel. Take a listen to this young lady, what she has to say about her being a fitness influencer. Take a listen to this.
I used to be a really toxic fitness influencer. Now I'm just not so toxic. And I want to tell you some bull that goes on within the fitness industry that you probably don't know about.
What's with that voice?
So let's start with fat-burning belly workouts. Absolute bullshit. You can't spot reduce fat off your body. You just have to maintain a calorie deficit, which over a period of time, genetically, you will lose fat off your entire body.
That's it. Hello. There you go. So there is no such thing as spot reduction of fat. Oh, yes, I know. Yeah, you're not happy to hear this. But it's the truth. The fact is that you cannot reduce fat from one area of your body. Ab workouts are posted purely for engagement. Now, if you want to have a six-pack of abs, you can have one. You just have to lose so much weight that it cuts all of the fat from in your body. Yeah, I don't think that people understand like the whole like toxify thing. Whenever somebody talks about purging toxins from your body, you should be skeptical of them, because the reality is that that's what the liver is for. Now, I know people like Chris Morrill and others, like, who love to drink, probably don't have livers, or their livers are at a severe deficit. But even so, the fact is that there are no energy drinks or juice cleanses or colon cleanses that are going to help you with weight loss, because it's all just it's all just making money. It's a fad diets are out there to try and help you to make rich people even richer, and they're taking advantage of you. The fact is that if you really want to lose weight, you have to be at a calorie deficit. And it's kind of like the reason why people believe the conspiracy theories about like Oswald, and the CIA and JFK. It's just far more interesting, or to think that there's something more complicated, that you would have to go through all these machinations to be able to lose weight. But the fact is that you really, in order to lose weight, just need to eat fewer calories than you burn. Um, I successfully lost about 30 pounds last year, gained it almost all back now, uh, by just simply having a calorie deficit. And what the best ways to do that, if you're going to do losing weight, in my opinion, and I know that this doesn't work for a lot of people just because they're too lazy to do this, but I promise you that if you get a Fitbit, and I don't know if this is going to show it or not, get a Fitbit, and they have this app. I don't know. Let me see if I can turn the brightness down. That might help you be able to see it. There we go. Yeah. So on this Fitbit app that I recommend, and I'm not getting paid to promote this for them, they have not only all your vital information on here. Ooh, I'm at 96 beats a minute right now, which means I'm very excited. They have a food log, And this is the key to my success. And I highly recommend this for you because you don't even have to necessarily have the Fitbit to use this on the app, but they have a little barcode scanner button up here in the top of the app, and you can see right there. See how it's like going to take a picture, right? So what it'll do is whenever you buy food, it'll tell you by scanning the barcode of whatever it is that you want to eat, it will tell you how many calories are in it and how much of it you can eat, right? So, for example, if I like this morning, I had a bowl of oatmeal and I put some milk in it. Well, and I had some fruit in it. So that's going to be about 150 to 160 calories, right? And that's good for a meal. If you can get 150 to like under 200 calories for one simple meal, you're doing great. Because here's the problem with weight loss that I found is that you're hungry. And so you feel these cravings. And I start getting emotional when I get cravings because I'm like, I can't eat. So I start like, feeling this sort of anxiety and kind of like sadness and like I'll never be able to eat again, right? It's your body. It's telling you, oh, you're starving, but you're not really starving to death. So here's the thing. There are certain things that they call superfoods, and that is legit. Some foods are calorie rich that will provide you with the kind of clean energy that will help you to get rid of those cravings. And the one that this is for me in terms of a superfood, if you can have a bowl of oatmeal for breakfast and just a bowl of oatmeal, maybe a little bit of fruit with it or something like that, um, that is going to get rid of your cravings the best. It'll help you to get through to lunch because, like, it'll be 9 a.m. here in just a few minutes, and I just need to be able to survive until noon until I can have a sensible lunch. You know what's crazy too is that, each meal I'm trying to get 600 calories or below, right? And that's not a lot. However, one of the you'll be surprised or shocked at some foods that you might really like that are that many calories or below. So, for example, the personal pan pizza at Pizza Hut is 600 calories. So, if you just eat at lunch a personal pan pizza from Pizza Hut, that's 600 calories. Have that with a glass of water, and that's actually pretty satisfying, right? Eating protein in the morning, just like Elizabeth Fanning Press is saying, it cuts appetite all day. Stop eating after dinner. Yes, for sure. But 1,800 calories to 2,000 calories or below each day, you're going to lose weight, right? No juice cleanses. There's actually juices are not so hot for losing weight because juices have a ton of sugar. Yeah, I know. Sucks, but it's true. All right, I got to go. I appreciate you all. If you would like to see the judge and I team up and build a network, I've got to be able to prove to advertisers that I can come through for them. This is the second month of Lear Capital sponsoring the show. You can help to support the show and to help make that libertarian network happen for free by just signing up for a free information packet from Lear Capital. Now, should I tell you to, should you buy gold and silver? Absolutely. Should you buy it from Lear Capital? Yes, absolutely. Do you want to see the judge and I build a libertarian network with him doing a show right before mine, and then we tag team and he passes off to me and we do this, 2 shows, right? What about 3 or 4? What if, Maria Buenano or Daniela Pensac or, any of my favorite guests, what if we give them their own shows? What if we build a whole libertarian podcast network because of you? Well, you can help make that happen. Right now, go to learaustin.com. That's LearAustin.com. Go to learaustin.com to help me build a libertarian network. It could happen, but only with the support of people like you. All right. We'll see you later. Bacon and sausage. Don't tempt me. That's just not fair, Ian Henry. You can have bacon and sausage is like 300 calories per patty. So you can have like 1. But if you have 2, that's your meal right there. Oh, it's so delicious. I'm so hungry. We'll be back tomorrow with more of the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com. The Chris Morrill Show. You'd watch that one. There you go. All right. But you got to sign up for a free gold packet at learaustin.com. We'll see you tomorrow on the Wake Up America Show at wakeupAmericaShow.com.
I like shooting things, but whenever I can't shoot something, I like to cut things. My life isn't all about shooting and stabbing and cutting, though. Sometimes I have to do actual work, but when I work, I still like to have fun. And there's nothing less fun than trying to cut with a crappy knife. Thankfully, from the ancient sect of Christian knights, who also loved cutting and stabbing, comes a new implement that has received my personal blessing, the Templar knife. Like the ancient sword of Excalibur, you don't choose a Templar knife, it chooses you. You just decide what kind you want on the website first, however, and then order it online, and then it chooses you. The Templar knife comes in a variety of shapes. As a man of culture and taste, I have decided I will never use a terrible knife again. And thanks to the inspiration provided by this excellent product, I have decided to launch a new crusade against anyone using less than superior knives. Join me, brothers and sisters, by visiting uppercuttactical.com/pages/Templar-knives. That's a lot of slashes. For that, you'll need a Templar knife. For 10% off, use code AP for Liberty and join me in a quest for glory, for liberty, for Christendom, for the Templar knife. Get yours today. Fire.
Your printing company stinks. They charge you too much money and they don't love America enough. We've got the solution. Patriot Printing USA. Whether you're running for office, saving souls, or just need business cards that will get you the new job you've been looking for, Patriot Printing USA has got you covered with the best prices around. Palm cards, brochures, bumper stickers, door hangers, you name it, we've got it. PatriotPrintingUSA.com. That's PatriotPrintingUSA.com.
Want an engaging website to boost your business? You're just a click away from 5-star Fiverr talent. Hundreds of freelancer skills like web design. Head to Fiverr.com today and get something started.
When I was in foster care, I never knew when I would have to move, so I always had my suitcase ready to go. Then one day, I was adopted. My new parents opened their hearts and home to me. My parents cook my favorite breakfast for me every morning. My parents take me on trips I never thought I would go on. They gave me a home and an even better reason to use that suitcase. My parents aren't perfect, but they're perfect for me.
I would remind you that extremism in the defense of liberty is no vice.
It is better to settle these matters in the courts than on the streets, and new laws are needed at every level. But law alone cannot make men see right.